Animal Farm Part 2, Chapter 6. The owl joined the governing bodies, and a system was created so each animal had a vote. Systematically, all the animals addressed independent issues. The leaders gladly handed over the crown. The leaders had studied history as well, and knew the power was temporary and fleeting, and at any time in the future the past could be rewritten, making them monsters and telling of their monstrous ways. Or they could take the easy way out and receive praise from the animals around the world and be remembered as being the last great leader of that country. And no matter how treacherous their reign had been, they were a hero forever for voluntarily handing over the crown for the greater good of all animals, the earth, and all other species. Everyone thought it would take a revolution of guns, when really it was a revolution of thought. They began to educate themselves on the ways of the world, food, politics, and environment. All the important matters of the world were being learned by all and shared in conversation. The animals were delighted, for this conversation truly fed their souls. They craved being heard and having their opinion valued. It was worth learning about these topics now, because they no longer brought sadness as topics that could be done about. It was worth learning about these topics now, because they no longer brought sadness as topics that nothing could be done about. There we go. The animals' minds were freed from the thoughts of men, so they could create their own ideas. Their ideas mattered because each and every animal had a vote on major issues that needed resolving. Ideas became the new highly valued commodity. Thinkers who were creative and could create solutions were quite valued globally. They became the superstars that most animals aspired to. Nikola Tesla was honored as the ancient superstar that created the last burst of energy the world needed. He spent his life working for the betterment of animalkind and could have elevated the entire animal race. No longer would good, creative individuals be stifled, extorted, or used by a capitalist world seeking financial gain and power. Those were the thoughts of men, and they were the hell that the animals strived to stay away from. They didn't want to be angry. It didn't feel good. They didn't want to be jealous of the other animals. They wanted to love themselves and be someone they could be proud of. Amazing animals were not something to be jealous of. They were wonderful examples of how to be, so the other animals could follow their lead. Gluttony was deemed as unnecessary, unhealthy lack of self-control, and those with strong urges were given help. The prisons of the future would amuse those with memories of the old world. You see, all animals were inherently good by nature. It just so happened that with all things, a balance was required. The world still contained predators, and they needed a place. It was not unnatural for a shark to eat a dolphin, no matter how devastating or painful it is to that particular dolphin and its family and community. Despite being predators, sharks needed love and appreciation too. When the world changed its structure to circular, the predators were no longer at the top of a pyramid food chain. The people organized themselves like a flock of sheep, with the predators on the outside. It was recognized that it was natural for them to want to hunt and be free, so a place was made for them at the edge of the flock. Rather than being a wolf that preyed upon the flock, they could be a guardian and protect the flock. Almost all the wolves leaped at the opportunity. They could do what they wanted to do and be honored for it. The guardians that protected the flock were, of course, free to roam within the flock and were given an annual celebration. A feast was created for them by all the herbivores that were so grateful the wolves decided to change their ways, just enough to not eat them any longer. There were always going to be wolves, with a taste for blood, and even sheep that bickered and bit one another occasionally. but the guardians kept peace and order. Another small change that created a ripple throughout future generations was also a construct of the chickens, and the children not be separated from the adults. The machine had been taking children from morning until night, and sometimes indefinitely, and indoctrinating the children on how to be successful cogs in its machine. The machine needed energy, and the children were the future energy source to pay its debt. That was seen as archaic, and education advanced. The entire upbringing of children in developed countries balanced with that of the undeveloped countries. The children needed to learn the skills required for life, and these were seldom taught in schools. There had been such an overabundance of information, the fundamentals were lost. Parents were too busy supplying energy to the machine to give any of their energy to their children. Some parents should never have been parents to begin with, as they never had any intention of giving their children any of their energy. They merely paid for the children's existence, and in later years, upon reflection, saw it as a huge lump sum of money that could have advanced their own lives rather than that of a child they never heard from anymore. That they never heard from anymore. The new system not only allowed children in the workplace, but it encouraged it. Children became members of the community and were responsible for it. All the animals marveled when a new child joined the community and participated in its growth. Animals were no longer devastated when they lost a loved one, because there were so many animals in their life to love and remember. There became 3 planes of existence the animals became aware of. The present, it was within their immediate field of vision. The other animals, the plants, the movements, and experiences at the moment. The mountains, those who lived in regions with no mountains looked to the line of the horizon. These mountains represented the immediate future. For in those mountains, at the present moment, many things were occurring. Other animals were scurrying about their business, plants were growing, etc. That also occurred in the present, but was far away. So if the animals wished to be there and join those animals, it became a hope, dream, or plan for the future. If it was a positive hope, such as to visit a friend or perhaps roll down the fluffy smooth hillsides, the mountains became a positive, hopeful future to gaze upon in the present. One day, they would do that. The sky filled all the space that existed above, whether it be stargazing, finding shapes in clouds, praying to a higher power, or casting thoughts into the universe. It was globally recognized as a means for the animals to see beyond the actual present and planned future to something higher and greater. Religious people were no longer persecuted. As long as everyone was following the laws the animals agreed upon, everyone was free to believe as they choose. No one wanted to be judged, so they stopped judging others. The animals became more clear in their communication with each other and tried their utmost to speak from a loving place in their hearts. Sometimes a beaver would drop a tree that an owl had been occupying, so they communicated and compromised which trees could and could not be cut for the betterment of all in the community and for the land herself. Had the beaver considered the water needed downstream before he began his dam? It was natural for the animals to not consider all the facts prior to taking action, but as long as they recognized the damage of their actions and sought to repair all damages to others, it was settled, and over time, altogether avoided with new laws that required no lawyers. The chickens opened their doors seeing this change and decided that yes, God had brought this new system through His Word, and especially since the new word was structured after their organization, they stopped knocking on the other animals' doors. All the animals rejoiced on Saturday mornings when they no longer heard the clucking of hens or the crowing of roosters. It was so peaceful. Crystal Dawn laughed. If that wasn't enough to convince people of the world, she didn't know what would work. It was true, though. If the Jehovah's Witness governing body could be convinced that the end was not a bloody battle physically at our feet slaying the wicked, but rather a battle of thought. George Orwell said, "We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them." The people of the world were not inherently bad. A common thread united mankind: food, water, shelter, space, and love are all we really need to ensure our physical needs are met, so we can tame the flight or fight response when it is unnecessary. It is the earth element within us. It also influences our passion, creativity, youthfulness, and vitality. How could one unlock those without their basic needs being met? It shows a need for logic, realistic thinking, and order in our lives. We cannot connect with others if our basic needs are not met. Next is the water element within us. It impacts our ability to be happy and joyful, compassionate, creative, and passionate. It also influences our desires, sexuality, and our reproductive functions, among others. We cannot connect with others if we are blocking our true selves. Next is fire. A fiery, powerful element of energy. When balanced, it allows us to be more energetic, active, confident, and forthcoming. Without it, we are unbalanced and cannot connect with others. Next are the air elements within us. This is our heart, Anahata. Much like the water-bearer Aquarius, the air element has little effect alone and requires another element to be powerful, so too our hearts need other hearts to connect to be powerful. Without an open heart, we cannot connect with others. Next is your throat, your true inner voice. It aids in listening, empathizing, and communicating with others. Without an open throat, we cannot freely communicate with others. Next is your brow, or frontal lobe. This is where we conceive our sense of thought, our ability to rationalize, use logic, and conduct an analysis to reach reasonable conclusions. Telepathic abilities are being able to read one's mind or convey thoughts without words. When you're connected to someone and learn of their thoughts and habits, you learn how their mind thinks. In doing so, quite often, you can anticipate the thoughts of that individual. It was quite a common practice. Your thoughts were full of the thoughts of another, thereby reaching the same conclusions. There is much more to it, of course, but that is the simplified version of the known and accepted powers of the crown chakra telepathic abilities. There is so much more outside of an individual, which is where it really gets fun connecting with others. The more individuals balance their personal lives and open all their chakras, the more connected of a world we will become. The future was bright for mankind if they were willing to step outside in the rain and look at the world for the shared, true, non-fractured reality it was. Because it needed every single person to believe it was possible before it actually became possible. People could do anything, and they knew it. They just felt powerless to do anything about it. Hope lies with the pearls.